Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Outsiders. I'm Seth
I'm
Austin. Wait, what?
I'm
My
Todd
God.
Pickering. That was supposed to be me. I'm Todd Pickering, and you're.
I'm Seth Austin.
Did you do that? We're a couple of actors stuck on the outside trying to make our way to the inside of the biz.
Hollywood, baby.
You did that on purpose.
Did I? Will we ever know?
You
Will I ever
did.
tell you? Come on, Todd. Look
Wow,
at
you're
me.
a good actor. You're never going
I'm
to tell me.
sweet little innocent Seth over here. Would I ever purposely mess you up, Todd? Come on, look at this face. Look at
We
it.
were doing so good, but
We
that's fine.
were, and then we screwed it up.
We didn't-
Okay, I've had my coffee. Todd's had his coffee.
Not
Today
yet.
we're here to talk about Pez.
Pez.
We're here to talk about Pez. Todd has a very colorful Pez mug. And I think we could spend a whole episode talking about that wonderful candy, about the episode of Seinfeld where that candy made it was like a star of like an entire episode of Seinfeld.
I only watched about half of Seinfeld.
Come on, Todd. Don't tell me that right at the beginning of the episode. Now you completely throw off my game. How am I supposed to trust you and be open to you if you tell me you've only watched half of the best show ever created? Good Lord.
Better than Mary Tyler Moore or All in the Family?
You know, I haven't watched most of those shows. I never watched Mary Tyler Moore at all.
Actually, I would say All in the Family is the best sitcom ever made.
Yeah, we've talked about All in the Family before, and I know that.
And you can watch it on YouTube. I highly recommend that. There's my actor tip of the day, right at the bat. Boom,
if you want to discuss any of these sitcoms or anything else, just email us at theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com.
So good.
That's Todd shaking his head because I just nailed that little segue.
You nailed the segue.
That's theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com.
You are so pulling ahead of me in your career because that was one of the most beautiful segues I've ever heard.
Oh my God!
And somebody's going to hire you from that. They're listening
become
right
a competition.
now.
We've become
the calls
competitive.
are coming in right now.
Like they're coming in right, and just we're going to start keeping score. We're going to have a scoreboard. We're going to have a link to the scoreboard about Todd's career versus Seth's career. It's going to be a whole.
You can blow me out of the water.
like a pirate. Okay, so today we're talking about. I've had my coffee, Todd. What do you want from me?
Yeah, you are really perky.
Yeah, I'm out of my mind. I'm also
You're
okay.
worried
Guys,
about energy, and now you're like we're trading places. You're going up, I'm going down.
That's right. I'm on the way up because don't get used to it though, because I am going on vacation starting tomorrow. So I think having this vacation to look forward to has gotten me like perky as.
Yeah, and you'll be perky when you return now,
yeah,
probably.
I'll be riding that. I'll be riding that wave, and then I'll come down from it, and I'll be a miserable sad.
I'll pull you back up.
Yeah, and Todd will have to drag me back to the top. What are we talking about today, Todd?
We're talking about agents versus managers. Is that right? Or are we just talking about managers?
I think we're going to talk about agents versus managers because we talked a lot about agents last week. So I think it's a good segue to kind of go deep into the kind of the two sides of the coin, right? The two things that you might need from a business aspect.
I guess you really, since we talked about agents last week, I was going to say, yeah, I guess technically we're talking about managers today, but you can't really talk about managers without talking about agents. I think we did it in the right order.
I think you're absolutely right because you need an agent. You don't necessarily need a manager, right? Like an agent.
Well, a manager can help you get an agent.
Right, exactly. But the goal is to get a really good agent, right? You can't.
But
yeah.
I can. Tell us the difference. We're starting in the middle.
Oh my God, you're right. We've jumped ahead.
What's a manager, Seth?
Good Lord. So a manager, unlike an agent, is someone who is not. They are not licensed by the state or anybody really. They can register and have their own LLC if they like.
But anybody can do that.
But anybody can do that, right? So they don't need any kind of special license. They are someone who the client, in this case, an actor, trusts to manage their career. And they are generally paid a commission of 15% on everything the actor books.
I read 10 to 20%. It's negotiable. So it's negotiable?
It's negotiable because, again, there's no hard and fast rule, right? For agents, it is stipulated by their contract with the state that they can take 10% of the work that they help book for union actors and 20% for non-union actors. For managers, there's no rule that stipulates anything regarding what percentage a manager can take. So I would imagine that some of the larger names in the business pay their managers just a flat salary,
Really?
rather than a percentage. Yeah, probably they probably only have that manager probably only manages them, you know. They could be a family friend.
Right.
They could
Yeah,
be
when
a
you're
relative.
huge.
Yeah, they have a huge career, like Samuel L. Jackson, for instance, who I was actually looking up in
Hanging out
preparation
with
for this.
yesterday. You had lunch with Samuel L. Jackson
Me
yesterday.
and Sammy J go way back, I got to
Sammy
tell you.
J.
And if you email him right now, he's going to tell you that we are the best of friends. Please don't do that. You will ruin my career. No.
I doubt his email's just hanging out there anyway.
Right? It's like you could
Just so
just
you
look
know.
up Samuel L. Jackson's email and be like, "Hey, bud, loved your movie."
Yeah, and if you're bothering them about Seth, there's something really wrong with you. You should be
Yeah, there's
promoting
that,
yourself, not finding out.
yeah, there's layers to that you should probably be seeking help during this quarantine, like we all should be. No, what were we talking about? I got totally off track now.
Managers.
Managers, right? So okay, and
Managing
then
a single career, like Samuel L. Jackson. When you're that
right,
big, you have a manager might just be representing one client.
right. But when you're smaller, a manager generally should have a smaller client list than agents. They're not going to be representing just you, the manager. I mean, but they're probably going to be representing much fewer clients than an agent, because really, in my humble opinion, what a manager should be doing is building your career, right? They're the ones who take an interest in the sort of day-to-day decisions that you make as an actor, uh, regarding like what projects you should be going out for, what types you're really right for, trying to really guide your career, right? They
Well,
may get you auditions, but they don't. But after they get you the audition, they are legally not allowed to negotiate on your behalf. And they are
that's the
not
agent's job.
legally, that is the agent's job. Only the agent can do that in your stead, right? A manager cannot negotiate for you. A manager cannot sign a contract for you. The agent does both of those things.
So if you don't have an agent, you need to negotiate
That's
that.
exactly right. That is exactly right, Todd. Thank you.
And I mean, if you don't have an agent and you're doing you're doing non-union work, for the most part, I've heard of people that have been between agents and have booked major things. At any rate, the point is, it's not hard to negotiate a contract. They're offering you, those are simple contracts to negotiate. You don't really have much negotiation going on.
And if it's not simple, what you can do is you can get a lawyer. If you do book something big, you can just get a lawyer for that one, an entertainment lawyer, just for that one particular thing. If you don't have an agent, and you're worried about all this contract.
And correct me if I've never had an agent. I mean, I've never had a manager. I've had agents. Boy, have I had agents. Not a lot, but I've had some bad ones too. But a manager also, when you talk about managing career, says you really should take this acting class. They hopefully should be introducing you to casting directors and producers and writers and other actors that they think you might like. So if they're not doing, they should have a relationship with your agent.
Yep.
They should, they should definitely call your agent and say, "Hi, by the way, these are in backwards.
Oh my God, Todd.
By the way,
get your headphones straight.
I'm Seth Austin's manager. Just want to say hi and hope you're sending him out for blah, blah, blah. And he met this casting director, whatever." So they should be doing something. They shouldn't just be waiting around to take your money.
No, that is exactly right. And, in an ideal world, I think in an ideal world, if you start off young, it's probably more valuable.
We all start off young, actually.
I mean, as an actor, we all start off young. That is wow. We do.
That's the order.
Technically, you're right. We're not all Benjamin Buttons over here, for Christ's sake.
That's special skills. That should be under special skills.
So, you can age backwards. If only, right? Maybe someday.
Get you cast in a flashback show.
Right. A flashback show. What are some good flashback shows? I can't even think right
now. Like Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon. There you go. The spinoff, Young Sheldon. I never watched it.
Yeah. See, he could have played himself young because he ages backwards.
That's right. There needs to be a spinoff of him aging backwards. So what I was going to say is, I think the ideal way for an actor's career to go is you start off when you're like 20, right? And you're young and you're beautiful and you land a nice manager who's going to take a vested interest in building your career. And they're going to introduce you, like you were saying, to casting directors, to writers. They're going to take you to parties. They're going to really like groom you and figure out what your right types are, what kind of shows you should be on. And then they're going to find you your agent, who is then going to get you those auditions and is going to do all the hard negotiating when you book something, right?
So that's the way you think you should do it when you're 20?
I think that's in an ideal world, right? That's how an actor's career would go, potentially. But the reality of it is it often just doesn't go that way, right? You get started a little bit later for whatever reasons. And so, you know,
One of the things I was told, because here we are, we're giving you all the tips, is that back to sort of what I said about a manager can help you get an agent. I was told that if you can come out to Hollywood and land yourself an agent, don't get a manager. You're just starting out. Well, especially if we've spoken a lot about training. If you've had training, you get yourself in an acting class, you're kind of being your own manager, right?
Sure.
You're taking care of all the things.
Yeah.
If that agent starts getting you lots of auditions and you start booking things, why pay a manager at first?
Right.
And let's just get personal. I know it's a pandemic going on, but I'm not getting many auditions in this pandemic at all. And a lot of my friends are. A lot of them are actually. So maybe it's time for me to during this pandemic to look into a manager, because I've had an agent. I have booked something. So maybe it's time for somebody to manage my career, saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah.
I will say that the pandemic's, I'm not doing anything. I'm unemployed. My jobs are gone. So yeah, I'm kind of in a low point right now, in the sense that waiting for something to happen, anything, a vaccine, an explosion.
An explosion, another sign of the apocalypse, maybe the actual four horsemen riding through, something to distract you. No, Todd, I appreciate you being vulnerable right there in that moment. And I think that you speak to, don't ruin my kind moment by being funny, Todd. Don't make me laugh.
No,
Or your own vulnerability.
I'm holding my heart.
I know, I see that. No, but seriously, like I think Todd touched on a thing that a lot of us, most of us are either going through or have gone through during this pandemic, this feeling of waiting for something to happen so that things go back to normal a little bit. And it kind of leaves us in this lurch, right? Because you're hoping, you kind of start to expect that, oh, well, there'll be a vaccine and things are going to get great again, right? They're going to go back to at least some version of normal. And we're just not, we're not seeing that. So, hang in there, everybody. And just this too shall pass. I know, like you said, Todd, there's your friends are booking some stuff. I know in one of my side gigs, I do as I monitor city parks for productions that come in and use the city parks for their sets, their locations. And I know that they're actually like, the city is open to it right now. And it's just the productions are having to figure out exactly how they're going to comply with the COVID stuff. But it's happening slowly,
But that's the other thing. I have friends that are really good. So, they're the exception, I'm guessing, not the rule. But of course, I think because I know them, all of Hollywood's working right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should talk. I mean, this is a digression, but I guess this is going to be, when a vaccine comes out tomorrow, and it's not going to hit. But a friend of mine just got pinned for a commercial, and he's union, so he's SAG-AFTRA.
Right.
And they are coming to his house this morning, a doctor, to give him the test. So he's number two. Actually, I'm sorry, he's number two. He's not just pinned, but he's the number two guy. They told him that. Because if the number one guy tests positive for COVID, he's got the part.
Oh man, there's some real dark comedy to be mined there. He's like over there praying that this guy has COVID. Oh, man.
I don't think, see, you're putting words in a stranger's mouth.
I'm accusing
but that's what
someone I don't even know of being evil. Go ahead.
But that's what's going on in the industry right now. We talked about this, the point is they used to, they pin you and then they release you. But now they have to pick a number one and a number two.
That's interesting. So it's another like just wrench in the works, so to speak, or another
Because,
thing to add to the process.
well, because that's a California, that's a, it's a working thing. So, and I wanted to, because we did do a major digression, but we stuck to the topic, which is interesting. That
Yeah.
was a huge digression, but we're still on the topic. But I kind of didn't finish the thought of the fact that, so you get an agent, but if you do get to Hollywood and you can't get an agent, then maybe, because nobody knows you, maybe you should get a manager then.
Right.
So if you come, you apply at a bunch of agencies, you're feeling really low, nobody's even taking a meeting with you, then you get a manager, because they will get you into an agent if they believe in you. You're still auditioning for them.
Yeah. And they can get you auditions, right? So it's
Right, especially non-union.
right. And there's a lot of folks say, it's better to have someone helping you get those auditions. Let's do a quick digression here. Like, no matter what you have, an agent or a manager, unless you're getting really high up there in your career, like, you're still going to have to find work yourself, or you should still be looking at the breakdowns on a daily basis. That's something that I really want to hammer home. Getting
Really? I
an
don't.
agent, yeah, getting an agent or a manager, I don't think you have to work actually harder, because now you have to be you still have to be looking for your own stuff, and you have to be keeping up with your agent and your or manager to see what that relationship, how it's going, and seeing what they're doing for you, asking what they've been submitting you for, and that kind of stuff. That's the general school of thought that I've heard repeated over and over again, is like, the work does not end when you sign on that dotted line with that agent and or manager. It's just beginning. Anyway,
Yes.
so
So you've had a manager, right?
yeah, I have had a manager,
Didn't
and
go so well.
it did not go so well. I got it from a showcase I did early in my LA time. And they got me, I think, in the first year, about 3 auditions,
Okay,
maybe.
wait. So you got him through a showcase. Where did you do what? What? Tell me about the showcase.
It was with a theater company called Town Street Theater.
Okay.
And we did like a night of scenes, and I did a scene from Sam Shepard's Fool for Love. And man, it was
We
a
did
long
that
time
in
ago.
acting. We did that in class too, in
Yeah.
college, university.
And I did a monologue from This Is Our Youth. And
So you did a
yeah,
monologue and a scene. Everybody did?
yeah, I think everyone did both, if they had them. Not everyone had to do both. It was pretty loosey-goosey. We kind of made it what we wanted to.
And were managers and agents invited to this showcase?
They were. They were.
How many were there?
Like 3 and 2, I think. Like 3 agents and 2 managers.
It's not a lot.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a
So
lot. It
that's
was
good
small.
that somebody.
Yeah.
And so you had an interview. How'd that go?
Good. The first audition went well. I mean, I had to go in and then audition for them again. And
Again?
yeah, it was.
That
It was
wasn't
fun.
enough? A monologue and a scene wasn't enough?
I guess not. And
Seems like a red flag to me.
yeah, I mean, they were enthusiastic at first, and then I just never heard from them. And then
So you were non-union because you said they got you jobs. They got you auditions, excuse me. 3.
no, I was union at the time.
So you were union.
Yeah, I was union. Or I am.
And you
union.
didn't have an agent then?
No, I didn't have an agent. Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't have an agent, and they they didn't do much of anything. Like, maybe, thinking back, there's probably steps that I could have taken to be more proactive in the relationship. But overall, I felt like, okay, if they're my manager, like, I wanted them to be doing the managerial type stuff, like guiding me, like we said, right? Like, I don't have many contacts here in LA. I'm pretty new. Like, where was the whole, like, okay, let's take this guy by the hand and help groom him to the LA market, introducing him to casting directors like Todd mentioned, and maybe even writers, and here, go to this party, go to this mixer, advice. I never heard anything like that from them. And over the first year, I maybe got 3 auditions. And then then that a year after I got them, they wanted me to come and re-audition again. And I was like, I was real hesitant to do it. And I kind of didn't, honestly, I didn't care. I didn't care how the audition went. Not to say that I didn't try my best.
Again, I question, because they either believe in you or they don't. And if they want you to audition again, I mean, they should say to you, we want to see you do a monologue. There should be a reason for you. You shouldn't be auditioning again. You've already been, you can't audition for somebody that's already signed you, but they should say, maybe they wanted you to work on your auditioning techniques. Ergo, that's how they should have phrased it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, according to them, they were re-auditioning everybody, and I think they didn't say this exactly, but it was pretty clear they were trying to clear their roster, I think, of redundancies and people who weren't working and booking and stuff. So
When
I
you
go
say
in.
they, were there multiple managers?
It was a yeah, so it was a management company.
Right.
Yeah, it was a management company. It wasn't an individual manager. That's important. So, and I'm not going to give any names because I want to protect the innocent people there, which the owner was not. He was the one who. So I go in, I do my second monologue, and the owner, he didn't like it, and he was very straightforward about not liking it. But he said, well, we don't have anyone of your type, and so we'll keep you on the roster, and so and in this sort of mini, sort of snippy little interview that we had after my monologue, it became clear that the guy who was managing me at that management company, my individual manager, was no longer working for the company, and they had never told me that. I had been switched to another manager. And I was like, okay, so because I think what happened was I mentioned that manager's name, and they were like, oh, well, so and so is not with the company anymore. I was like, well, why did you not tell me? And you know what their response was? You should have known. Like you should.
Well,
They were
they're
like,
right, though.
how would I have known? How would I have known that I was switched?
I'm not blaming you. I'm saying you should have known.
Oh, right. I should have known. But how if they don't send me an email being like, hey, Chad left. Now you're managed by this other person. Like, how would I know?
Well, you should have a new manager. So, okay. So first off, my question is, did he hate the monologue because you didn't give a shit? So you gave a shitty performance? Because you didn't give a shit.
No, I did take in a piece that I hadn't done very much, and I thought it was good, but maybe it wasn't the right material. Maybe it wasn't.
No, but I'm saying you intimated that you were kind of over, you felt like they weren't doing anything for you, and I'm just asking a real question. I'm not getting on you. Did you, maybe you just didn't do a great job because you kind of were not feeling the love?
Yeah, it's possible. Absolutely. I mean, it was a piece I really liked. I remember it specifically. It was a piece I really liked, but I wasn't 100% sure that it was up to snuff to be shown at something like that. And it's not a piece that I would have shown if I really wanted to be a perfectionist about it. So I kind of went in being like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. I'm going to do it just for me. I'm going to do this just for me, and I'm going to do my best at it. But I'm not going to care about.
You're trying out new material.
Yeah, I'm not going to care if it doesn't go that well because this is kind of just for me.
So here's another question. Per the whole, you should have known. You should have you should be talking to your manager a lot more than you're talking to your agent. Your agent's job is to be submitting and talking to casting directors. So truly, you shouldn't be bothering your agent that. You're bothering your agent too much. You're ruining your chances.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. I'm glad you're bringing this up, right? This is a thing to consider when you are when you're talking to the one good thing. No, when you're talking to these people at the beginning, right, is what you want that relationship to look like. Now, Todd brought up a very good point that generally speaking, you're going to be speaking a lot less to your manager, to your agent rather than to your manager. That said, I'm sure that there are people out there who they might want to find an agent who they're talking to on almost a daily basis. I'm sure people have that relationship. Some do with their agents.
You should be talking to your agent, but the agent's job is to get you auditions. So the more you talk to your agent, the less they're spending time getting you auditions. Manager's job is to manage your career, and they can't manage your career if you don't talk to them, show them your auditions, et cetera, et cetera. But my point is that I do know actors. My agent won't talk to me. It's like, probably because you email them all the time.
Right. That's a very good point. And, this was a big time learning experience for me because there was many questions that I should have asked in that initial interview to guide with my agent with the manager to guide myself to the right place to a good relationship with the manager, right? Like, should I be sending you like my audition tapes on a regular basis. Like let's figure out like what this relationship should be. How often should we be communicating? How often are you going to let me know like what you're submitting me for? When are we going to talk about, finding an agent? When are we going to talk about going to parties together? When are we going to talk about casting directors? All of that stuff. And if I'm thinking back, like I was just thrilled to have someone on my
That's how it
team.
always is when you start. You're just so
Yeah,
thrilled to have a manager, to have an agent,
right.
to be in an acting class that you're not. Yeah, yeah. You got to take control.
Yeah, you gotta have your head on straight. Like I said last time, like this is the most business part of the business, right?
So hard.
Yeah, when you're in front of that camera, in front of that casting director, what have you, that's when your talent and your passion, all that stuff, that's when that comes through. And it's for better or worse, a smaller part of it, right? A lot of your career has to do with this more business oriented stuff. And I'm really, really glad we're doing this podcast, Todd, because it's, even in preparation for doing this episode, like I'm re-looking up all of this stuff about agents and managers, and I'm getting myself in more of this, like
Yeah,
this business mindset.
the takeaway for me is how what a great name of our podcast. Wow, I really am an outsider.
Yeah. And that's okay,
It's okay, actually. No,
Yeah.
but I mean, I really am. I mean, my friends that are getting auditions have had agents for really long time and really long careers. So yeah, I can't feel bad. I should feel good for my friends. And how do I make that happen for me? So what's the wrap up?
The wrap up is
So I
this,
mean, are we
Todd.
wrapping up both agents and managers?
Do you need both? That is our wrap up. That's the thing we haven't really touched on. Like the question
Well, I think
comes
I
up a
did.
lot. A bit, yeah. So but I want to sum up that, right? I want to
Yes,
use that
you
as
sum
as
up
our.
what I said. See if I'm right.
So I think it comes down to this, right? Like what Todd said. If you're, or a combination of what both of us said. Like if
Right.
you're young and beautiful and you've already got an agent, and then your career starts to explode, and you find yourself needing to have your career managed, right? Like your agent got you an audition for this thing, but you managed to get yourself an audition for this other thing, or they got you two auditions and it's hard to figure out the conflict. You might need a manager to figure out all of your scheduling conflicts. Or say if you're getting really big and
Correct.
you are scheduled to do publicity on this one thing, but you're supposed to be on set this other day. The manager is the one.
That's
Yeah. I mean, the managers, you might need
right.
a manager
Absolutely.
to literally manage your career.
But if you're starting out,
If you're starting out, do you
you're
need
brand new
both?
to Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's
You probably don't need both. And I think Todd was right
well,
in
which do you
saying,
think you need the most?
if like what you said, if you can manage yourself, if you have your head on straight to where you can manage yourself, you've got yourself in a good acting class and all that stuff, but you're not going to have the ability to get yourself in the door, of course, for these auditions, but you've got everything else wrapped up. Then yeah, I think you're right. A manager is more important. Sorry, man, an agent. I can't say the right one. An agent.
Wait, you think an agent's more important?
Yeah, because that's what you were saying earlier. An agent is more important. Yeah.
Well, I don't. If you can get an agent, then maybe
Yeah.
you'll hold off on the manager
Right.
to see what the agent does for you and see what your relationship is there.
Yeah.
But if you can't get an agent, then you definitely should get a manager. I guess the bottom line is you need one or the other. Otherwise, you're not working.
Right. And there's just
And
going to be doors.
even if you're, I mean, look, you might have a hard time finding a manager or an agent. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm interrupting myself. At least I'm interrupting myself all the time. I think you might have a hard time getting both. So you should probably look for both if you don't know what to do. I guess my advice would be, go for both, in the sense that, I mean, you knock on a lot of doors before you, get an agent and or a manager. And if you get both of them, then fine, that's great. But
Just remember, you're giving away 25% of your income. That is something to keep in the back of your mind, right? I mean, anything you book, if you have both of them, 25% right off the top. And okay, so here's a pretty good
yes,
wrap up, is that managers, like we said before, are much less regulated than agents are. So, and I think I said this 2 or 3 times in the last episode. I used the phrase "do your due diligence." And
Well, I
so,
think you have to have a really great interview with the manager, even more so than an agent. I think the
yeah,
manager has to be told, if they go, yeah, your monologue's okay, we're going to sign you. Like, yeah, I don't
yeah,
want to work with somebody that thinks I'm okay.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
even if they don't necessarily think that your monologue is great, they should be like, but there's incredible potential, and we're going to work together to mine that potential and build your career, right? You want someone that is excited about you, and that
so
is reputable, is not going to rip you off, is not
yeah,
going
well,
to,
you got to be really excited about them. I'm going to go on a
yeah.
limb and say one more thing. I think number one thing, and because we talk about this on the podcast all the time, I think even before you stress about an agent and manager, you should get yourself in an acting class.
Oh, 100%. You shouldn't, we said this before with the agent, right? You probably shouldn't even be looking for a manager until you are, because if you find a manager that's interested in you and you're not in an acting class, that could be a red flag right there, just like with the agent, right? Why does this
And
person?
look, acting classes. I know there's tons of people, and I know them who shall be nameless, that are like, I don't need acting class. I just got done with a graduate program and a master's program. No, you still need an acting class just to see what the LA scene is like.
Yep.
50% of it is you're hanging out with other actors and you're watching their work and you're seeing your work, and that will your work today, not your work back when you were in college, not back when you were in a class in Lincoln, Nebraska. Then who cares? Hollywood really doesn't care about your. They don't care about your college, even if you went to a big one, unless you went to a big one and you're in a workshop. Okay, I'm rambling. But my
Yeah.
point is that I think is the most important thing before you get your manager and agent, because that will help you get a manager and an agent. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
It's perfect, because also you're going to meet, if you're brand new to town, you're going to make friends in that class. You're going to meet peers, and you're going to, who knows, this is a sticky thing, but if they have agents and managers, you'll at least be able to ask them about their relationship with their reps, even if they don't openly recommend you to their rep, which is a whole other thing that can get weird with people. But yeah, you're going to at least be able to ask them like, hey, okay, so your agent is this person, your manager is this person. Like, what's your experience like? How did you get them? How do you feel about your relationship with them right now? How did you make sure that they were reputable? That's that kind of stuff. So being in an acting class, I think, Todd, couldn't be a better way to wrap it up, is the number one step, the first step to getting an agent or a manager.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
I'm gonna go get a manager now.
You're gonna go get a manager now?
Right now.
Right now. Just walk
They're
out the
calling me
door.
right now.
I think you should paint like a sign, almost like a protest sign, like Todd
Oh,
needs a manager. Todd needs a manager, and stand on a corner like apparently Brad Pitt was discovered, flipping a chicken sign around, some kind of chicken joint, hired him to be on the street
I
with
don't
a
look like
sign.
Brad Pitt.
Todd, you don't not.
99% of the world doesn't look like Brad Pitt.
That's a good point. That's the reason Brad Pitt is Brad Pitt. Not only is he incredibly talented, but he looks
He
like
really
Brad
is.
Pitt. Yeah, man. I've heard
I'm
so
gonna go
many
get
funny.
plastic surgery first. There's that too.
Oh, Todd, you're spending that Trump money on plastic surgery? Now you've inspired. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a guy that does Botox behind the Burger King. I'm gonna go.
Botox behind a Burger King. You're
That's
gonna have
Saturday Night joke.
Whopper in one hand and needle in the eyebrow in the other. I love it.
Yeah.
Make sure you take a selfie and put that one on our Instagram Outsiders page.
Yeah, there you go.
um, speaking of publicity for us, go to our Instagram page. Go to our, tweet at us, email us at theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com, and stay safe. Don't get the COVID. Todd, what are you even doing? I have no idea.
I was pointing at the email address.
Oh, right. The email address that's not even down there because I hate editing. All right. Yeah, stay
All right.
safe.
Have a good vacation.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Send me a postcard.
Oh, wait, I forgot one thing. Oh my goodness. I'm in this movie. I'm in a movie. This is such an exciting thing. I'm in this zany, I'm sure we're over time right now, but I got to do a little,
No, we're good.
I got to do a little shameless self-promotion. This movie is called Unbelievable. It is a Star Trek parody. It is zany. It is one of those movies that is, if you like Star Trek and like kind of older sci-fi stuff, it is tailor-made for you. It is chock full of references and to all of those things, to Star Trek, to old sci-fi stuff. It is also chock full of older Star Trek actors. Snoop Dogg is in it. He's the biggest star probably that's in it.
Snoop Dogg was in Star Trek?
No, Snoop Dogg was not in Star Trek, but he's in this.
Okay. But you said older Star Trek actors.
No, yeah, and I ran it all together. I didn't mean to imply that Snoop Dogg was
Like who? Who were like from the original series? You mean? Or
yeah, from the Nichelle Nichols for one, right? She was
Cool.
so Nichelle Nichols was on, I forget how much Star Trek exactly, but quite a bit, and she was the first African American woman to have a role like that, a role that was non-stereotypical, a role that was not sort of exploitative, I guess is the word.
That
I'm
was
not
a
an
big
expert
yes,
on that,
it
but
was.
she was
Whoopi
just
Goldberg mentioned that.
right. She was just another regular character on the show. Not only that, she shared the first interracial on-screen kiss with
Yes.
William Shatner. And now this is interesting. William Shatner wanted this interracial kiss to be on TV, and the producers were iffy about it, right? So the producers had them shoot it many, many times because they were like, okay, we want a shot where maybe they don't kiss in case we want to use that take. William Shatner was gung-ho on having this make it in. So he made sure they kissed in every single take. And of course, the interracial kiss ended up on there. It was groundbreaking. So Nichelle Nichols is in this. That said, you're in for a ride if you see this thing. Like the reviews so
How do we
far.
see it?
How do you see it? Oh my goodness, Todd, keeping me on track. Rambling. It is on Amazon. You rent it on Amazon right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, it is a whopping $3.99 right now.
Did you say the name of it?
It is called
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and it has many exclamation points on the end of it, and it has Snoop Dogg, big and bold
Snoop Dogg.
in the post or in the graphic, on
Right.
Amazon. That's how you know what it is.
So check it out. We'll discuss it next week.
Yes, we will discuss it next week. I actually myself haven't watched the final cut.
What?
It just came out, so I haven't seen the final cut of it yet.
It literally just dropped, and you have to pay for it though, so it's not part of Amazon.
Right, you have to pay for it right now.
For it. That's fine.
I think in a couple of months it'll be on some streaming services for free, but those deals have yet to be worked out. The whole deal making process behind this was crazy
right now.
Yeah,
they just announced Mulan's going to drop, not at theaters.
I heard that. Right, they're going to charge people like $30 to watch it on Disney Plus or something.
Which is not a big deal because it's cheaper than a family of four going out. And that's I know people that have kids and they say, well, they'll do it because it's cheaper.
Of course. And the question there is, right, I mean, I think it's worth it. Like, you're not going to get the full theatrical experience, but it's also only $30.
Well, it's also because the theaters are open in China and they've really promoted it there. So it's going to open at the same time. So that way people won't be buying people would pay that for a pirated version. So they have to release it at the same time. And of course, theaters will be open here too, possibly. It's not that it won't not show in theaters. Just not many people are going to go.
You're going to have access to that.
All right, you need to catch that plane.
I got to catch that plane. All right, goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
Travel safe. Wear a mask.
Yeah.